U.S. presidents have influenced the nation's politics and culinary landscape. Each president has unique dining preferences, from elegant state dinners to hidden local gems. Join us as we explore the favorite restaurants of every U.S. president and their culinary loves during their time in office. 1. George Washington. Let's start with the first president, George Washington. During his time, the concept of restaurants as we know them today was still evolving, but Washington found a favorite spot at City Tavern in Philadelphia. This establishment became a hub for politicians and revolutionaries alike, where they gathered to discuss the issues of the day over hearty colonial fare. The menu featured robust dishes that reflected the culinary traditions of the time, including roast meats, fresh seafood, and various ales. Washington was particularly fond of the tavern's turkey pot pie, a dish that exemplified the comforting rustic meals enjoyed in the colonial era. His frequent visits to City Tavern not only satisfied his appetite, but also underscored the significance of food in fostering camaraderie and dialogue among the nation's founders. From colonial feasts to early American expansion, our next president had a refined palate for the finer things. 2. John Adams. John Adams wasn't just known for his statesmanship. He also had a distinctive taste for New England favorites. During his presidency, he often dined at the Blue Anchor Tavern in Philadelphia, a popular establishment that reflected the culinary preferences of the era. Known for its inviting atmosphere, the tavern offered a menu rich in seafood, which Adams particularly enjoyed. His fondness for oysters became well known, and he would often savor them alongside other local delicacies. This love for fresh, ocean-inspired dishes highlighted the region's bounty and showcased how food played a role in the lives of the nation's leaders. Adams' love for seafood set the stage for the next president, who appreciated something a bit more rustic. 3. Thomas Jefferson. A true lover of French cuisine, Thomas Jefferson was instrumental in bringing his European tastes to the United States. One of his favorite dining spots was Gadsby's Tavern in Alexandria, Virginia, a popular establishment that embodied the refined dining experience of the time. Here, Jefferson indulged in imported wines and fine dining, enjoying delicacies such as crème brûlée, which he played a crucial role in introducing to the American palate. His appreciation for culinary arts went beyond mere enjoyment. It was part of his broader vision of a sophisticated American society, where gastronomy was a reflection of culture and elegance. From sophisticated French dishes, we now move to a president whose culinary habits were more reflective of the country's rural roots. 4. James Madison. James Madison, known as the father of the Constitution, preferred more straightforward, hearty fare during his presidency. One of his regular haunts was the Indian Queen Tavern, a popular establishment among early Washington elites. At this tavern, Madison enjoyed traditional American dishes, including hearty beef and mutton stew, which reflected his down-to-earth nature. His culinary choices aligned with the rustic values he held dear, emphasizing sustenance over extravagance, even in a time of political upheaval and change. Madison kept it simple, but our next president's dining choices reflected his flair for the dramatic. 5. James Monroe. James Monroe often dined at the Union Public House, a historic tavern that offered a menu reflective of the era's growing sophistication. At this establishment, he indulged in roasted game, fresh bread, and hearty soups, all of which showcased the culinary evolution of early American dining. The warm atmosphere of the tavern provided a fitting backdrop for Monroe, who sought not only nourishment but also the camaraderie of fellow politicians and townsfolk. His dining choices mirrored the burgeoning culture of Washington, D.C., as the city evolved into a center of political and social life. As Washington, D.C. grew, so did its culinary options. Next up, we have a president whose dining tastes mirrored his larger-than-life personality. 6. John Quincy Adams. John Quincy Adams, much like his father, shared a strong affinity for New England cuisine, particularly seafood. He frequently dined at the Bunch of Grapes Tavern in Boston, where he relished the fresh flavors of the sea. His favorite dishes included succulent lobster, rich clam chowder, and the iconic Boston baked beans, which showcased the region's culinary heritage. The tavern, known for its vibrant atmosphere, served as a gathering place for locals and visitors alike, allowing Adams to enjoy both good food and engaging conversations in the heart of his beloved Boston. From seafood delicacies to something a little more Western, our next president favored hearty, frontier-style meals. 7. Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson's culinary preferences were deeply influenced by his Southern upbringing. He often dined at the Hermitage Hotel restaurant in Nashville, where he savored hearty Southern fare that highlighted the region's flavors. His favorites included crispy fried chicken, savory country ham, and tender collard greens, all embodying the warmth and hospitality of Southern cooking. The restaurant, located near Jackson's estate, the Hermitage, allowed him to enjoy a taste of home while engaging with the growing community around him. As the country expanded westward, so did the flavors of the presidency. Up next, a president who enjoyed the fine foods of the capital. 8. Martin Van Buren. Martin Van Buren was known for his sophisticated palate and frequent visits to Delmonico's, one of New York City's earliest and most prestigious dining establishments. Renowned for its exquisite steaks and extensive wine list, Delmonico's became a favorite spot for Van Buren, who enjoyed the lavish banquets and elegant restaurant atmosphere. His love for fine dining reflected the era's growing appreciation for culinary refinement and social gatherings, setting a high standard for presidential dining experiences. Van Buren's New York fine dining was a stark contrast to our next president's more modest tastes. 9. William Henry Harrison. William Henry Harrison, despite his brief presidency, had a penchant for the comforting and familiar flavors of home. He often dined at the Market House in Cincinnati, where he enjoyed local favorites like corned beef and cabbage. These simple, hearty dishes reflected Harrison's humble beginnings and his connection to the everyday lives of ordinary Americans. His choice of dining venues showcased a preference for community and tradition during a time when the nation was still finding its footing. While Harrison's presidency was short-lived, our next leader had a long-standing reputation for loving home-cooked meals. 10. John Tyler. John Tyler, the 10th President of the United States, was known for his appreciation of American cuisine. He often frequented Old Ebbitt Grill, a beloved establishment in Washington, D.C. Even in his time, this iconic restaurant was a go-to spot for politicians and locals alike. Tyler particularly enjoyed classic American dishes, with a fondness for freshly caught oysters that were served in abundance. His dining preferences reflected the growing culinary culture of the nation's capital, where social gatherings often revolved around sharing meals and discussing political matters. From oysters in the capital to a taste for the exotic, our next president's dining experiences were shaped by international influences. 11. James K. Polk. James K. Polk, the 11th President of the United States, embraced the flavors of his Southern heritage during his time in office. He frequently dined at the Franklin House in Nashville, a popular establishment known for its hearty and comforting dishes. Polk's favorites included classic Southern fare, such as savory ham, fluffy biscuits, and rich gravy. These meals not only satisfied his palate, but also reflected the warm hospitality and culinary traditions of the South, making each dining experience a true reflection of his roots and the culture of the region. From Southern hospitality to Northern culinary innovation, let's take a look at the dining habits of the next president. 12. Zachary Taylor. Zachary Taylor, known for his military exploits before stepping into the presidential office, often dined at the historic Willard Hotel in Washington, D.C. This elegant establishment was a favorite among politicians and dignitaries, and Taylor enjoyed indulging in classic American comfort foods. His go-to meals included hearty beef roast, tender mashed potatoes, and seasonal vegetables, which reflected his appreciation for robust, home-style cooking. The Willard Hotel provided a fitting backdrop for a president who balanced his military legacy with leadership responsibilities. As the Willard Hotel became a favorite for presidents, the next commander-in-chief took a different approach, embracing the rapidly evolving New York dining scene. 13. Millard Fillmore. Millard Fillmore found solace in the comforting atmosphere of Sweeney's house in Buffalo, New York. This charming establishment was known for its hearty Midwestern fare, and Fillmore particularly enjoyed their rich beef stew, a dish that reminded him of home and the warmth of family gatherings. He also had a sweet tooth for their delicious apple pie, which was a staple dessert in the region. Sweeney's house served as a perfect retreat for Fillmore, blending the simplicity of home-cooked meals with the camaraderie of the community. Moving from Buffalo to the bright lights of New York, our next president loved indulging in the best the city had to offer. 14. Franklin Pierce. Franklin Pierce, the 14th President of the United States, had a notable affinity for seafood, which led him to frequently dine at the Union Oyster House in Boston, one of the oldest continuously operating restaurants in America, established in 1826. Here, he reveled in the lively atmosphere filled with locals and tourists while savoring the restaurant's renowned clam chowder, a creamy, hearty dish made from the freshest clams, potatoes, and seasonings, served piping hot. Pierce was also fond of fresh oysters, often enjoying them raw on the half-shell. The Union Oyster House's rich maritime heritage and diverse seafood offerings allowed Pierce to connect with the cultural roots of New England, making it a cherished institution that has remained a staple in the area's dining scene for generations. As Pierce savored the flavors of New England, we turn our attention to the next president, whose dining preferences reflected the growing culinary diversity of the nation and an evolving approach to American cuisine. 15. James Buchanan. James Buchanan, the 15th President of the United States, preferred the comfort of quiet dinners at home rather than the bustling atmosphere of restaurants. He often dined at his estate, Wheatland, in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where he could enjoy a more intimate dining experience. Buchanan had a fondness for home-cooked meals, particularly favoring simple yet hearty dishes like lamb and potatoes, which his household staff often prepared with care. This preference for home-cooked fare reflected his desire for a sense of normalcy and familiarity during his presidency, as he navigated the tumultuous political climate of the time. Wheatland served as a refuge for Buchanan, allowing him to unwind and indulge in the comforts of traditional American cuisine. As Buchanan savored the warmth of home-cooked meals, we shift our focus to a president who sought out lavish dining experiences and embraced the culinary diversity of the nation. Let's explore Abraham Lincoln's unique dining preferences. 16. Abraham Lincoln. Despite his humble beginnings, Abraham Lincoln was fond of the comforts of home dining in Springfield, Illinois. His favorite meal was chicken fricassee, a dish that exemplified the hearty, straightforward fare of his Midwestern upbringing. Lincoln also had a sweet spot for apple pie, often enjoyed during family gatherings. His dining preferences mirrored his modest lifestyle, focusing on wholesome, satisfying meals rather than extravagant cuisine. From Lincoln's simple tastes, we now travel to a president who enjoyed a bit more flair in his dining experiences. 17. Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson, who took over after Lincoln's assassination, frequented the Metropolitan Hotel in Washington, D.C. Known for its grand banquets and political gatherings, Johnson enjoyed classic American fare like roast beef and pork. From the bustling political center of Washington, we move to a president who relished the finer things in life, and his culinary preferences were no exception. 18. Ulysses S. Grant. Ulysses S. Grant, a Civil War hero, enjoyed fine dining at Delmonico's in New York City. He was known to appreciate a good steak and a glass of fine whiskey. Delmonico offered luxury that suited Grant's rise to fame as a national hero. While Grant enjoyed the high life, the next president opted for a more relaxed, Southern charm in his dining habits. 19. Rutherford B. Hayes. Rutherford B. Hayes preferred more formal White House dinners, but he was known for serving simple yet elegant meals. His favorite? Freshly roasted turkey with cranberry sauce, a dish that symbolized the spirit of Americana. As Hayes hosted dinners at the White House, our next president turned to a dining establishment that had a reputation for opulence and grandeur. 20. James A. Garfield. James A. Garfield frequented Welker's Restaurant, a favorite among Washington elites. The establishment was known for its elaborate dishes, and Garfield especially loved their roasted game and oysters, indulging in rich flavors during his short presidency. While Garfield loved the gamey dishes of Washington, The next president found solace in the local culinary gems of his home state. 21. Chester A. Arthur. Chester A. Arthur, a lover of luxury, often dined at the famous Hoffman House in New York. Known for its extravagant meals and upscale atmosphere, Arthur enjoyed the finest cuts of beef and extravagant multi-course dinners, reflecting his penchant for high-class dining. From fine dining in New York, we now move to a president who was a fan of a more southern and homemade approach to cuisine. 22. Grover Cleveland. Grover Cleveland was known to have a hearty appetite. He frequently visited the Anchor Inn in Washington, D.C., where he indulged in corned beef, cabbage, and oysters. He was also a fan of lager beer, often enjoyed alongside his meals. Cleveland's indulgent meals set the stage for a return to the White House dining halls with the next president, who had a very selective palate. 23. Benjamin Harrison. Benjamin Harrison enjoyed dining at the historic Willard Hotel, famous for its exquisite meals served in an elegant setting. Harrison's favorites included venison and seafood dishes, and he appreciated the sophisticated atmosphere of this Washington icon. Harrison's love of fine dining gave way to our next president's fondness for a more straightforward, equally indulgent culinary experience. 24. Grover Cleveland, second term. During Cleveland's second term, he developed a well-known fondness for ice cream, particularly Bassett's ice cream in Philadelphia. Cleveland was said to indulge in scoops of rich vanilla ice cream after dinners, making it one of his guilty pleasures. After Cleveland's love for dessert, the next president took a more homespun approach to his dining habits. 25. William McKinley. William McKinley was a fan of the Raleigh Hotel's restaurant in Washington, D.C. Known for its grand decor and elegant dishes, McKinley enjoyed oysters, lamb, and fresh vegetables, commonly served at presidential dinners. From McKinley's lavish dining experiences, we now turn to a president who loved home-cooked meals served with a side of Southern hospitality. 26. Theodore Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt, known for his larger-than-life personality, loved dining at Delmonico's, where he indulged in famous steaks and wild game dishes like bison and quail. Roosevelt's taste in food reflected his love of the outdoors and hearty meals. Roosevelt's wild tastes in food reflected his adventurous spirit, but the next president preferred more refined and European-influenced dining experiences. 27. William Howard Taft. William Howard Taft was well known for his love of food, and one of his favorite places to dine was Café du Paris in Washington, D.C. Famous for its French cuisine, Taft indulged in rich dishes like pâté and duck à l'orange. Taft's love of rich, French-inspired cuisine brings us to a president who embraced more progressive ideals but kept his tastes rooted in American tradition. 28. Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson frequently dined at Harvey's, a famous seafood restaurant in Washington, D.C. Wilson was known for his love of oysters and soft-shell crabs, making Harvey his go-to spot for seafood delights during his presidency. After Wilson's sophisticated seafood preferences, we move to a president whose rural background shaped his love of simple, homegrown meals. 29. Warren G. Harding. Warren G. Harding enjoyed dining at the Marymount Inn in Cincinnati, where he could indulge in hearty Midwestern favorites like pot roast and mashed potatoes. The inn reflected Harding's love for comfort food, which reminded him of his Ohio roots. Harding's love for comfort food contrasts with that of the next president, whose tastes were shaped by the opulence of the Jazz Age. 30. Calvin Coolidge. Calvin Coolidge preferred simplicity in his dining habits. He often dined in the White House itself, enjoying meals of Vermont turkey, apple pie, and baked beans. Coolidge's tastes were simple, reflecting his frugal personality. From Coolidge's homey meals in the White House, we now shift to a president who faced one of the country's most challenging periods and found comfort in a classic American favorite. 31. Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover, known for his humanitarian efforts, loved dining at Lewis's restaurant in San Francisco, where he could enjoy seafood like Dungeness crab. Hoover's love for the West Coast influenced his dining preferences, making Louis his favorite. Hoover's West Coast favorites set the stage for our next president, who found solace in a humble yet hearty dish during the Great Depression. 32. Franklin D. Roosevelt. FDR loved the atmosphere of the Algonquin Hotel in New York City, where he enjoyed their famous steaks and martinis. The hotel was known for its intellectual gatherings, reflecting Roosevelt's love for stimulating conversation and fine dining. FDR's penchant for lively dinners gave way to our next president, whose down-home approach to food matched his post-war vision for America. 33. Harry S. Truman. Harry Truman frequently dined at the Mayflower Hotel in Washington, D.C. Known for its hearty traditional American fare, Truman's favorites included roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and pie. No frills, just good, wholesome food. Truman's down-to-earth meals contrasted with the next president, whose lavish tastes were emblematic of America's booming post-war economy. 34. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Dwight D. Eisenhower had a well-deserved reputation for enjoying the culinary offerings of the Press Club, where he could unwind in a more relaxed atmosphere. Known for his love of robust flavors, Eisenhower often indulged in hearty American classics, with steak being a particular favorite. His meals were often simple yet satisfying, showcasing his preference for comfort foods like beef stew and barbecue. This approach to dining mirrored his straightforward personality, prioritizing good food over extravagance. Eisenhower's culinary choices reflected the values of his era, emphasizing hearty, home-cooked flavors that resonated with the American public. As Eisenhower savored his familiar, flavorful meals, we transition to the next president, whose dining style infused the White House with a taste of New England sophistication. This leader brought a refined palate and an appreciation for fresh, seasonal ingredients, elevating the dining experience to new heights. With a focus on culinary elegance, the next chapter of presidential dining embraced not just tradition, but also a modern approach to gastronomy that would leave a lasting impression. 35. John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy, a Massachusetts native, frequented Loch Ober in Boston, a restaurant known for its refined seafood dishes. Kennedy was particularly fond of lobster and New England clam chowder, bringing his coastal heritage to his dining habits. After JFK's sophisticated tastes, the next president embraced a more down-home style inspired by his Texas roots. 36. Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson's approach to dining was as grand and robust as his personality. Often entertaining guests at his Texas ranch, affectionately dubbed the Texas White House, Johnson created an atmosphere of warmth and hospitality that was reflective of his Southern roots. His menu frequently featured classic Texan dishes like barbecued ribs and chicken fried steak, showcasing the bold flavors and hearty portions that characterize Southern cooking. Johnson believed that food was a crucial part of fostering connections and building relationships, which he demonstrated through large gatherings filled with laughter and lively conversation. His meals were not merely about sustenance, but rather a means to engage with guests, making them feel welcome and valued. He often made it a point to serve comfort foods that resonated with his guests, reinforcing a sense of camaraderie and shared experience. As Johnson welcomed guests with generous plates of food, we now turn our attention to the next president, whose dining choices marked a shift away from formality, embracing a more relaxed atmosphere and the company of close friends. This leader brought a new style of dining to the White House, where the focus was on personal connections and informal gatherings rather than elaborate state dinners. 37. Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon's culinary preferences reflected a blend of comfort and curiosity, showcasing his diverse tastes and diplomatic acumen. He enjoyed classic American dishes like meatloaf and mashed potatoes, finding solace in these familiar flavors. Nixon also had a notable fondness for Chinese cuisine, especially after his historic visit to China in 1972, where he developed a deep appreciation for its rich culinary traditions. This combination of comfort and exploration extended to his beverage choices as well. He was known to enjoy a glass of cottage cheese topped with ketchup, a pairing that might seem unconventional to some but which he reportedly cherished. Throughout his presidency, Nixon's dining habits exemplified a balance between tradition and innovation, reflecting both his personal preferences and the broader cultural landscape of the era. 38. Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford's culinary preferences reflected a deep appreciation for home-cooked meals, emphasizing comfort and familiarity in American cuisine. He had a particular fondness for peanut butter, which he frequently enjoyed on toast or in sandwiches, showcasing a simple yet relatable dining style. This approach made him an endearing figure among the American public, as his meals echoed the everyday experiences of many citizens. Ford's down-to-earth palate seamlessly leads us to the next president, whose culinary experiences would be shaped not only by a passion for international flavors, but also by a keen focus on global diplomacy, reflecting a broader worldview in the White House dining room. This transition marked a shift in presidential dining from comfort to a celebration of cultural diversity and sophistication. 39. Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter's Southern upbringing deeply influenced his culinary preferences. He often enjoyed traditional Southern dishes like fried chicken, grits, cornbread, and collard greens, reflecting the warmth and hospitality of Southern culture. At the same time, Carter was a strong advocate for healthy eating and promoted the benefits of locally grown sustainable foods. His focus on nutrition was aligned with his broader environmental values, emphasizing the importance of agricultural practices and fresh, wholesome ingredients. As Carter championed both Southern comfort food and healthier dining, the next president would introduce a touch of sophistication and elevate the White House dining experience with style and elegance, reflecting the cultural shifts of the time. 40. Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was known for his love of traditional American comfort foods, often enjoying meals like cheeseburgers and macaroni and cheese. His fondness for simple, hearty dishes resonated with many Americans, adding to his image as a relatable, down-to-earth leader. Reagan also had a well-documented sweet tooth, with a particular affection for chocolate cake and jelly beans, which became iconic during his presidency. From Reagan's indulgence in familiar comfort foods, we now shift to a president whose culinary choices embraced international flavors and health-conscious trends, reflecting a broader global palate. 41. George H.W. Bush. George H.W. Bush disliked broccoli, famously stating it during his presidency. However, he enjoyed classic American meals, including baked beans and his wife Barbara's homemade chili. The Bush family often dined together, emphasizing the importance of family meals. Bush's family-oriented dining preferences lead us to the next president, who brought a fresh perspective on food trends and global flavors to the White House. 42. Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was well known for his love of classic comfort foods like burgers and fries during his presidency. However, after facing health challenges, he shifted to a more health-conscious diet, adopting a predominantly vegetarian lifestyle. Clinton began enjoying more plant-based dishes, including fresh salads and vegetables, marking a notable evolution in his approach to food and wellness. His transformation reflects a broader narrative of personal growth and health awareness. Following Clinton's culinary journey, our next president embraced tradition while also exploring more modern, diverse dining experiences. 43. George W. Bush. George W. Bush was known for his preference for simple, classic American cuisine. He often indulged in barbecue and Tex-Mex dishes, savoring favorites like fajitas and chili. The Bush family frequently hosted casual gatherings at the White House, where these comfort foods were staples. This laid-back approach to dining reflected Bush's Texas roots and a desire to create a relaxed atmosphere, welcoming guests into a home-like setting. As Bush hosted laid-back meals, we turned our attention to the next leader, whose dining habits would reflect a global perspective and America's cultural melting pot. 44. Barack Obama. Barack Obama brought a distinctly global and thoughtful approach to dining at the White House, showcasing his appreciation for various culinary traditions while remaining dedicated to health and sustainability. His meals often featured dishes from Mexican, Asian, and African cuisines, celebrating the diversity of American culture. Obama's focus on locally sourced, seasonal ingredients mirrored his administration's broader push for environmental responsibility. First Lady Michelle Obama's Let's Move initiative further emphasized the importance of healthy eating, with the White House garden serving as a symbolic centerpiece for this commitment to nutritious, homegrown produce. State dinners became a platform to connect foreign dignitaries with the best of American cuisine, incorporating regional specialties and global flavors to create a sense of unity through food. These gatherings were not only showcases of elegance and diplomacy, but also reflected a deeper desire to engage with the diverse cultural identities that make up the nation. This progressive culinary ethos set the stage for the next administration, where food wasn't just a matter of taste, but became an integral part of shaping public identity and political outreach. 45. Donald Trump. Donald Trump garnered attention for his love of fast food, frequently indulging in burgers, pizza, and fried chicken. He famously hosted fast food feasts at the White House, bringing a casual and accessible approach to dining that many Americans could relate to. Trump's preference for comfort food resonated with a significant portion of the public, as it mirrored the everyday culinary experiences of countless families nationwide. Trump's fascination with fast food leads us to the current president, whose culinary choices reflect a commitment to tradition, sustainability, and American cuisine. 46. Joe Biden. Joe Biden has embraced a deep appreciation for classic American dishes, with a particular fondness for cheesesteaks that pay homage to his Delaware roots. Throughout his presidency, he has emphasized the importance of family meals, often sharing dinner with his loved ones and highlighting the significance of togetherness at the table. While promoting a focus on healthy eating, Biden also indulges in comfort foods that resonate with many Americans, showcasing a balance between tradition and well-being. The dining habits of U.S. presidents offer a unique glimpse into their personalities and America's changing tastes. Each president's favorite foods reflect their history, from home-cooked meals to fine dining. If you enjoyed this journey through presidential palates, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more fascinating content.